All right, appears to be live, so we will confirm and make sure that it's properly working. We have enough microphone and such, so forth and whatnot to be live, so we will confirm and make sure that it's properly working. We have enough microphone and such. Yeah, it's a little bit buzzy, but it'll have to do, I think. It will have to. Yes, I'm not doing it. I'm not starting over. Yeah, just not going to. What is this? It's in my way here. This is what I want, I think. Yeah, it's comments. All right, we'll start there. I really should start with the subscription page. Well, maybe I'll do that because it's sort of a curious, interesting event. How'd it go? The electric boom guy made a video on exactly the subject that was covered in the lecture I did of Professor Lewin's. I mean, exact same subject. How'd it go? Must be covered by this stupid thing. There it is. So it says, does Khrushchev's law, so something or other, I can't read it, hold, yes. So it's about this idea of when you put a coil into a system instead of a, a magnet or some sort of a moving magnetic field into a current loop instead of a battery, for example. And how the rules change, but they don't really change. It just, what changes is your ability to measure anything, because your measuring tool is going to be influenced by the battery directly. And so I speculated about that in the last Professor Lewin video when he was making this point that the books are all wrong, and he was offended that somebody would question the authenticity of his experiment and all this stuff when, yeah, it's really questionable. I mean, so it just seems like amazing. I post a video and 5 hours later, I mean, and the lecture is 15 years old. So it's like if this guy was going to do a video on it, he could have done a video in the last 15 years at any time. It's just kind of bizarre that he does a video on Professor Lewin exactly, after 5 hours after I posted my video. It's like 5 hours. I think this is it. I posted a comment. I posted a comment. Why are we at the bottom of the comment list? Yeah. Bizarre coincidence. I posted a video which I actually played a clip of Walter Lewin. So I'm asking, no response to the comment, but it is a bizarre coincidence. So I don't know, an error occurred playing. Well, you can see a little bit of that, right? So it's that electro boom guy is talking about the very same subject in his video. So that's just a bizarre coincidence. Just pointing out, it's just bizarre. I mean, coincidences. I mean, life is weird. It's just fucking weird. Effing weird. All right, so that looks good enough now. So let's do some dopey comments. Sorry, but they're usually always dopey. So this Matthew H. guy who's just sort of a pain in the ass. That the speed of light in a vacuum is constant, and the fact that they're both differential equations. Wow, I mean, that's just so, I know exactly what you're talking about. Not. I just thought when people post, comments expecting that somebody's going to be reading the comment, the video is, comments being made on a video that might be hours or days old, and they expect somebody to know exactly what you're referencing in that whole video. I have no clue what you're talking about, Matthew. You should just quote what it is you're saying. You should say, it's just stupid. I don't know. How's anybody supposed to know what the fuck that means? That the speed of light in a vacuum is constant, and the fact that they're both differential equations. How does somebody make sense out of that crap? All right, Tyler says, physics is so complex. Well, you wouldn't know until you're there. It's really not that complex as it turns out. It's about the only subject where the teacher actually leaves an impression. Well, that's your impression. Teachers just seem to be in the way in a lot of cases. I wish someone would debate. Yes, that'd be very good. Maybe this Gary Mosier guy will interview you again. Yes, maybe I'll talk to myself because I probably couldn't talk to better company. That was a debate of epic proportions. I don't know if it was epic, but it's better than looking for other people because, yes, they're generally speaking idiots. John Gray, well, I'll read another comment of his that got dumped in the spam folder, and I would say deservedly so because it's just such a piece of crap. But anyway, I've killed the cowboy, so he's doing a joke because I called it a brain dead pool. And we'll soon visit Mendham to cash. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Tybes will cost $1,500 extra since she's in Australia. Okay. No. Bill Gaty will not do. He's is armored heavily. Whatever. Okay, yeah, so it's a little funny, but yeah. Einstein has a 160 IQ, so shut up. Just an amazing kind of statement. Einstein is dead. I don't know if you know that, but he's dead. So he had a 160 IQ. And he probably wouldn't want people like you defending him. You know, people who don't know that dead people don't currently have brains. You know, functioning ones that have a 160 IQ. I mean, Einstein's brain doesn't have close to any kind of IQ now because it's probably all eaten by bugs and shit. So, you know, you're pretty stupid. But this whole infallibility of what, smart people? A lot of smart people can't figure out how not to molest their kids. Smart people do all kinds of dumb shit. So what the fuck? Einstein didn't think you could make a nuclear bomb. He didn't think you could sustain a proton, I mean, a neutron chain reaction. And a few months later, a guy did it. You know, I can point out other flaws in Einstein. You know, leaving his wife and kid, all kinds of character defects. So fuck you. What a stupid fucking comment. Oh, I just don't know how these people walk the earth with not being just totally in shame. They should be wearing shame burqas for just being this fucking stupid. And he thinks he's defending, you know. Oh yeah, you're defending Einstein. Einstein would hate your guts. He'd love me. You're just so fucking clueless. Douche. All right, now another, just who the fuck could this be? Babylon decoded Dutch. Gravity is a theory when density is a fact. What the fuck? What is this drivel? Oh, what could that possibly mean? What is something in physics that you've changed your mind about? Oh, no point. The channel's called Draft Physics. I mean, the last 7 years, I've had to, you know, it's been a whole evolution of ideas, but I don't know what you mean by what I've changed my mind about. I mean, I didn't know details when I was 10, but when I was 10, I knew photons doing this wave thing was a pile of shit. So I didn't change my mind. I just never allowed my mind to be turned into rubbish by bullshit ideas. Anyway. Fapping gnomes in the azalea bushes über der. I guess he's talking about the light flashing in the background or something. I mean, you people are just so clueless. All right, so here's another bizarre coincidence in a way. So the John Gray guy posts a link to some Spanish video. I think it's Spanish. Indian. Spanish. You probably already know about this video demonstration. So it's some guy doing the same experiment with an inductor, you know, and 2 resistors and the whole thing. But it's, you know, it's in Spanish, so who the fuck knows what he's talking about? But basically finding the same thing. That all you do is switch the probe wires from one side to the other, and they read different because the probe wires are picking up the inducted electricity. So, magnetism first, obviously. So, so again, just weird that all this comes up now. But no, I hadn't seen it before. If I'd seen it before, then I would have mentioned it and said, see, this is the answer to the puzzle. I wouldn't have been going, hey, that is weird. Anyway, off topic, but you might be interested in scary. So this is a link to the same crappy gravitational wave article that's been around. This Danish physicist claim they had, I think they were German physicists, but I don't know, they want to say they're Danish, fine. But that claim was made like a year or two ago. I mean, it's an old claim, that there's insufficient logic in the algorithm they're using to filter for these magical waves. So yeah, it's not that useful an article in the sense that there's not enough details to be able to say who's right or who's wrong. I mean, you can logically say that they never should have said we did it. They should have said we think we might have done it. All right, I guess the video needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but in my opinion, you're not wrong. The force that you're speaking of works on a grander scale. Oh, fuck you. That doesn't sound too good. So this is on the most important video. Says you, putz. Far beyond the observable universe, whatever that would be, is the opposite force, says you, of the attraction. You could say it's like that where the bulk of the antimatter is on the outside shell. You're just making all this crap up. There's no evidence in any of this. Far beyond our observable universe, blah, 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 says you. And this force is what is out. Expansion, accelerated expansion. No, that doesn't make any sense either. It's not even a correct sentence. No, I'm not here. I'm here to do one thing. Defend my theory, tear down conventional bullshit. Not here to debunk your claims from which you have absolutely zero evidence about what's beyond the observable universe. Oh, shit. Why do people take the coward's way and just leave thumbs down instead of trying to contribute? Gutless. Yes, it is. But, that's all they are. Very, very small little wienered and testicled asswipes. That the internet, they're free to pretend to be men when they're just little boys. So it is pitiful. All right, on to another pitiful comment. All right, so John Gray. He's got two, sorry. Oh yeah, this ranking thing comes up again. 98 on the other video and 12 now. I couldn't find this page that has this. They only have like 10 things in each playlist or category, so I couldn't count to 98. So I don't know where you get that. But whatever. Maybe maybe they give you more choices than they gave me. So anyway, this comment is just really stupid by John. I'm not going to defend or explain the wavy interference stuff because I don't believe in it. So, but you do think that it's physics teachers and talking heads should go unchallenged when they say this stuff you don't believe in. Nobody should challenge it at all. Okay, sure. I like videos where somebody debunks Einstein, Maxwell, Faraday. I don't know why somebody would even bother with Faraday. He did experiments. Didn't draw silly conclusions. Maxwell's the same way. I mean, he did math. He believed in ether, but he didn't smear it all over his work. Einstein, yes, you can debunk because it's this grandiose theory of projection. I'm just going to project an invisible man force called bent space-time and have the tiniest bits of evidence to say it's true. I don't know who but is. But anyway, but debunking or redoing a professor that gives a university lectures looks kind of silly. So amazing. It's okay. So it's okay to try to tear down Maxwell and Einstein and Faraday, but you shouldn't bother with the professors at universities. Somehow they're so much smarter. Amazingly retarded, especially when the university is MIT. And why would that be especially anything? In my opinion, MIT is way oversold, frankly. And the professor is Walter Lewin. So in the ironic coincidence category, you would type this comment to the Electro Boom guy. You want to go take this exact comment and post it on his video, you know, pointing out how he shouldn't find any criticism. Fuck you. Remember, some of these lectures are really old. So what does that have to do with anything? He's obviously re-edited them, you know. So if there was something glaringly wrong, he's edited them more than one time. He's put edits into them to correct things. He put in a whole segment just to say how great LIGO was and blah, blah, blah. So obviously age has nothing to do with this. That's just a bullshit claim that somehow, oh, you can't pick on them because it's old physics. No, this is the same physics people are using today, shithead. A copy of a copy. They're on Professor Lewin's own channel. I'm sure they're not copies of copies, retard. Man, you're just such an asshole. From the original lecture from the master. That's your opinion. Douche. But yes, please debunk Maxwell. Well, what would I debunk? Not completely accurate equations. Is that what you want me to debunk? You want me to point out that there are experiments you can do where the Maxwell's equation won't happen because the two objects are too close together or too far apart, or there's some other influence? What's the debunk? There's a relationship between velocity and current and wattage. Wow, yes, I'm going to debunk that. You're a fucking asshole. Jeez, what a fucking Weasley cunt you are. So yes, you just lost about 9,000 credibility points with that shit comment. Fuckhead. I think I'll delete your little jokes now. Because you're not funny. You fascist creep. Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to do that. This boring guy. Blah, 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 blah. At this point, Einstein realized that Einstein was a dumbass. Sorry, it's true. All right, so now here he is. So here's the list. Well, I'll get rid of that comment too. And go back to published comments. Yeah, so fuck you. Delete your comments just for the hell of it because you're a shithead. Stupid fucking comment. I just can't believe it. I go to the trouble to play hours of lectures pointing out where I say, no, this isn't right. There's another truth I'm defending, dumbass. You don't quite understand that. I have a unification theory, completely challenges the conventional bullshit, and you don't think I should actually play their lectures where they're teaching the subject to point out where the differences are? I don't think I could be more fair. I could find a more fair target than the professors, douche. God, what a God. When I think how stupid that comment is, it's just so fucking stupid. So yes, I'll restrict you from here. Just like I'll be like in the Ten Commandments. You know, I'll wipe your name off the walls of the whatever, the name of Moses. Have everybody go to jail who says John Gray. He's a douche, a stupid douche. All right, so let's see if there's anything. I'm gonna let your people. You got any comments? Fine. If not, then I might just tattle off. There are some other things funny in the subscription, so I guess I could do one little bit of that. So this creepy place, this electric university, I don't know what they call themselves, energy, free energy and fun society or something. It's something Dullard belongs to, and these other all tinfoil hat loop-de-doos. This nutter thinks you can, use your consciousness to fuck with energy or something. I don't know what these two wackies do. And there's Dullard, some other generator guy, another, invisible fake fun energy, free energy bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And so they have a panel discussion, but they also have a Ken Wheeler video, so I don't know which one I should play. Because if he's on the panel discussion, that would be quite funny. But I guess we'll just see how he did his presentation. They only have a 6-minute clip, so I guess they got so bored too. They said, we can't put the whole Ken Wheeler thing up. It'll drive people insane. I gotta change the size of that. That ain't the right size. That should work. Let's see how it looks. Oh, we need all this fun music. Bingalingle, dingalingle, dongalingle, dingalingle, dingalingle, dingle, 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 dingle.
Besides magnetism, he is an expert in ancient Greek, Pali, and Russian.
Says him.
Governmental agencies around the world as a translator.
Says him. So okay, they just read. He gets to write his own. I'll love it. I got to be able to do that someday. I'll just write he was a Jedi that fought the Imperial fleet, and did, I'll just write all kinds of complete crap. Yeah.
And he was one of the founders, or he is the founder of a popular website which focused on the teachings and history of Buddhism, with a heavy focus on the etymology of its related languages.
Where the hell is that? I haven't found that one yet. That ought to be worth a laugh.
He's also one of the top 10 in the world online influential reviewers of camera and photography equipment, and he has like over 5,000 videos on his YouTube channel. Obviously very passionate about learning, exploring, and teaching about magnetism, and the book it's dedicated to the founders of a lot of the electrical sciences, some of the people that we really want to pay attention to. That paved the way for a lot of those sciences with clarity, and that include
with clarity. What a joke when the top of the list is Tesla, who couldn't be more unclear.
There's Tesla, Maxwell, Steinmetz, Heaviside, and the book is also dedicated to Eric Dullard. So help me welcome Ken Wheeler.
This is the Ferrocell. I wanted to tell you, I actually found this during the second edition of my book. This is an invention of Tim Vanderelli. He actually has a new quadrupolar electromagnetic device, and even though he has 7 patents, his latest...
patents don't mean they do anything, right? So patents doesn't mean that you've actually got something that's actually sellable. But this Ferrocell has explained the gimmick here. This is just light diffracting, and it doesn't have anything to do with the real pattern. The real pattern is a star, it's the typical radiation. They're just radial lines of magnetism, and you're just seeing it bent because of the fact that the little ferrous material, the LED lights, come in at specific angles. So if you only had 2 LED lights, you'd only see 2 little lines. So it's all about which direction the light's coming from.
One is very fascinating, and his lawyers actually had to have him bring the device down. He didn't believe that it actually existed, since it seemed so Star Trek and fantastical. But I want you to think this entire lecture is based around this device, but it's an interesting teaching tool as far as understanding, the concept.
It's a deception. It's an illusion. Not going to teach anybody anything but falsehoods.
Nature of the magnetic and the dielectric. Nothing I discuss in this lecture will fundamentally run contrary to the well-established electrical theory of the greatest minds, such as Faraday, Steinmetz, Oliver Heaviside,
blah, 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 blah,
James Clerk Maxwell, or Tesla. While I myself have been completely interested in understanding magnetism in its entirety for the sake of understanding it alone, I've helped several people on multiple fronts, namely using arrayed magnetic and gold sluicing devices, since much of the gold is actually lost in this.
Right, there's no evidence that any of this magnetic crap does any useful gold finding at all. Gold collecting, not really finding.
Flusing is baby powder gold. You use the magnetic field to apply the diamagnetic nature of gold, so actually decelerating out gold from the laminar flow of the water so that you actually catch more gold. So while I'm completely interested in understanding magnetism for the sake of magnetism, obviously the practicality of using magnetism in everyday life, I, for one,
it's one of the downsides of it. The whole paramagnetic thing falls apart, when you start getting really small particles, because the effect is so minute that it can't change the gravitational effects or the effect of water that's traveling 20 miles an hour.
Example, I came up with a device. I got tired of paying a plumber to come over and plumb my pipe, so I created a magnetic scrubbing device.
Yeah, you put a magnet down his drain, then runs across the pipe with another magnet. Yeah. Yeah. And then he has to get the magnet all the way back out again. Or he has to put it out through a clean out or something.
So let's discover the conjugate nature of magnetism and dielectricity, which are mutually the foundation for everything in the cosmos. But to do so, we actually have to define polarity, and certainly so incommensurability.
Certainly so, and certainly so. So I guess they just took clips randomly out of his presentation. So he just sat there and read from his clipboard. Compelling.
I found out the cheap way of actually making a housing is using the metal aluminum ducting tape that you get in a hardware store. Other than the expensive optically flat glass, I mean, you're just looking at 3 drops of liquid between 2 optically flat pieces of glass that are sandwiched together. And once you squeeze them together, 2.5 of those drops out of the 3 are squeezed out of the side, which you wipe off and then continue to seal off either with like super glue gel or UV curing glue. You ring it with LED lights, or you can use continuous fiber optic, and those have been around now for 50 years. You can buy them for like $20. I mean, if you buy a new one, they're like $500, but you can buy them for $20 used on eBay. It can't be anything if it has no attribute. What's the ether? What's the nature of the ether? Well, in stress or strain, it's a dielectric. It'd be electromagnetism. No. Those are modality expressions of the ether, like water and steam and ice. I mean, the child would think those are different things. Human beings don't think that water is different from ice or steam. Why do we try to pigeonhole everything?
Well, because naming things makes sense, and having consistent names for them, it makes even more sense. So, yeah. So what's this ether stuff? What is it made out of? Good question. Why don't you answer it?
Is there anything that doesn't have at least one attribute? And how could the ether be any different? The ether is not free of this principle. Obviously, the ether has to have an attribute. Does it follow any particular paradigm? Like light and illumination? Is illumination something autonomous? In a simple analogy of the hourglass shape, obviously here we have no space, no time, no polarity. Space is...
whatever. I mean, obviously you've already concluded there's some sort of ether that fills everything. So yes, of course there'd be no space because you've decided everything's some sort of gunk.
Certainly, I mean, excuse me, time is not a thing. Time is only in the ancient...
Yes, well, time is not a thing. It's not a thing like a brick, but it's a thing like a function. And it's not a complex one. It takes time to move distance. There, you're pretty much done with the subject of time. It's not any more complicated than that. Depending on how fast you go, it takes less time or more time to move a distance. There, subject's exhausted already. Completely exhausted. We already finished the subject.
Indians and the Greeks and the Egyptians said this as well. There's no such thing as time. Time is only a measure of magnitudes.
Then just more mush. No, it's a measure of how fast you can cover a distance. That's all it ever will be and all it is. It takes time to go from here to there. And if you're sitting somewhere, there's stuff going from here to there. And it's taking them time. And so it's taking you time just sitting here. Because if you were going somewhere, it would be taking a certain amount of time for you to cover that distance. And so there's time. You're just stuck with it.
So here we have no space, no time, no polarity, no magnetic flux. Here we have space.
Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, we have tons of polarity. So, I mean, lots of things are polarized. So it's just silly to say. Silly.
Space and time, force and motion that actually define the torus.
Force and motion. The motion part takes time.
And here we have the hyperboloid of increasing inertia and acceleration to an...
Yeah, there's no hyperboloids or blah, 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 blah. No evidence of any of this shit existing. blah, blah, blah. Not a single experiment validating any of this mush.
Whole point. Obviously, the sand goes from one side to the other, so we can't take this analogy too far. But I mean, it's simply a illustrative thought diagram of understanding. Well, nobody talks about it.
Doesn't illustrate anything. It's just I could just make an X anywhere in space and say, there, I've done my job. X marks the truth. The truth is the X. The X is everything. It looks like a hyperboloid.
Hyperboloid and
hyperboloid, I mean.
Conventional linguistics, and you never come up to your coworker and talk about, well, hey, I saw a cool hyperboloid, so I had to give a visual demonstration of a hyperboloid and use an hourglass analogy. People don't
use your inverted penis as an example. But anyway,
realize that all is the field itself, just as magnets do not accelerate towards each other. Neither is there anything present in the void of a ring magnet.
Right, except for all this stuff. There's nothing present except for the tornado, orange tornado, and then the swirly bits over here, and the more swirly bits over here, and the more swirly bits over here. Except for all that, there's nothing. Yeah, except for all that unmagnitude.
Yet when viewing same underneath a supercell, it has the exact same magnetodielectric image.
Magnetodielectric, like that makes any sense. Like that's a fair combination of words. I don't know. Poof mouth. Yeah.
As the pole of any other magnet. It might be simple enough to think of a magnet which has been charged with 2400 volts and 12 amps DC as a permanent field photograph of the charge which has passed through it.
Blah, 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 blah. More stuff with no evidence.
Obviously, the CRT tube is nothing other than an electrostatic projector, i.e. dielectric. So what happens?
A dielectric. It's not dielectric. It's a thing that's sensitive. You hit it with electrons. The electrons cause a fluorescence, of a fluorescing material that sends little photons through a filter.
So we take a magnetic field and apply it to that. Let's first start off with the cross pattern. Well, that's one pole of a magnet.
Yes, and all you're doing is sending a bunch of rays and deflecting, with that ray force, the electrons. So they're not hitting where they're supposed to.
Here we actually see a clockwise to the cross. I flip it over. Here we see a counterclockwise to the cross. This is the same thing. Unless you worry about destroying your old tube TV set, which you could do, even if it has a degausser on it, you could easily damage it. You definitely shock yourself pretty good, as I've done a few times.
Let's see, this preview has been excerpted from Ken Wheeler's original 2-hour presentation. We all fell asleep, and many of us have sleep apnea problems, so we almost suffocated. In the description, more information. Oh, you can probably buy his 2-hour presentation. You can probably buy it. Let's see, in a format in a public audience, reveal magnetism, disclosure on like advanced photo cells. Okay, yeah, so it doesn't say anything. Ken Wheeler Mag. Let's see what the Ken Wheeler Mag link takes us to. Uncovering the This is probably his book. No, this is something else. Ken Wheeler is an expert in ancient Greek, Pali, and Russian. I doubt it. But anyway, yeah, okay. So I guess you can buy the not really a book, or you can buy the CD. Let's see. He published a book called Uncredited. He went on to publish, blah, blah, blah. He didn't publish it in any kind of normal publishing way. So they got the excerpt. He covers, compare, order now. Okay, there we go. This is a downloadable digital video. Here's what you get with uncovering. 1 hour, 54 minutes. Okay. And it doesn't tell you the price. $37, only $37. To pretty much risk your life. Certainly risk your brain's health. There ought to be a law. There ought to be a fucking law. All right, anyway. So that was a big pile of horseshit, as suspected. So let's just see what this panel discussion, if there's anything at all worth commenting on, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Do 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 do. We'll get past the intros.
Like that. He personally studied with Vol in Germany, and people like Dr. Paul.
Oh, shut up.
Tap into and get feedback and ask questions and learn. And it's been a great experience for me. So,
Thank you, Dr. Begley.
A bunch of people from my generation embarrassing themselves.
And then Yarrow, one of our buddies that
before another obsession comes before me, and once that new obsession appears, then the zero motor would be put aside. But at that point, I can pretty much
I can guarantee
that
that
it would be useful.
any day now I'm going to do this thing I've been promising for 30 years. Any day now. It's, any day now.
And then with Eric, we do put out quite a few updates. They're usually edited quite well and cropped, or censored, I should say. Sanitized. So, over the last year or so since the last conference, it's been a bumpy road. He came up here in October or so to get his engine swapped out and was planning on being here for 1 week. Wound up staying for 5 weeks, and what popped out of that time frame was a prototype MWO pulse modulator unit you see down there at the end of the state.
Yeah, that someday is really going to be cool. Like, someday when it works, someday.
Or whatever. It was one of the most intriguing conversations I've ever had in my life. Dr. Frederick Elzefon shared some things with me that I don't think that should be discussed publicly, but it was enough to kind of floor me. That entire trip was kind of changed how I looked at things. Some of the things that he shared with me in relation to some of the companies that he was involved with, Lockheed and so forth, and the kind of things going on behind the scenes.
Yes, they're planning all kinds of free energy stuff.
Feel as if after this conference, I have a very surprising feeling at the end of it, and that is that if I came to no other conferences after this one, I would still have set something in motion that will eventually bring about the dissemination of my dad's technology, no matter what I do. And I have earned a thing for that.
Thank you.
And so I can't imagine what I'll be hearing next year when I come back, if I come back. And
he's trying to sell his father's electric fly zapper or something.
I think we can all look forward to great developments in this technology, because I have a high confidence that it's for real and it will work, and it's not that hard to do. So it was a very productive conference.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David. That's where the Ken Wheeler steal.
And go to gravitycontrol.io. That's gravitycontrol.io. That's going to develop into something that's going to document all this work. There will be links provided at some point after the conference. I'll put together a summary of all the different presenters and the websites and all that kind of stuff associated with all their presentations, so that you can know where to go, what to click on, that kind of thing. On gravity.io, there is the link to the Gravity Control book on Amazon if you didn't get a chance to get one here, and the top 10 UFO riddles. Both those books, there's links to Amazon on there, and eventually there'll be links to the papers and other stuff. And there's also the schedule, I think, posted at the top of the website on the radio shows. Right. So so go there, and if you want to be notified on any future updates or whatever, you can just sign up for the mailing list there. So Ken Wheeler, everybody. Yeah. Glad that you were able to make it this year. And you know, especially from the beginning, coming into Energetic Forum and then, you know, showing your passion for that and originally offering up your book to, you know, if that was to be sold, that all the funds could be donated to Eric Dollard. In every aspect, he's been very generous, you know, with his time and his effort to be able to offer that up. And I think that, you know, is showing a huge amount of respect, not only for, you know, what we're trying to do, but also for, you know, how he holds Eric.
Yeah, I just didn't want Eric to make fun of him. So he has to give him some money so he doesn't say, God, you're fat or something.
Work in high esteem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really wanted to say thank you, Aaron, for allowing me to come out here. I don't feel deserving to sit amongst this panel with Eric Dollard, just 2 people down. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for being so incredibly kind. You told me that about this group, and I knew that, but it was so very incredibly kind.
Yeah, a bunch of, really, these are just as tinfoil hat as you get.
I know a couple things for certain, that the only thing we take with us from this world is wisdom. And, you know, the only reason I want any stuff at all is so that I can experiment and learn how this world works of ours. And I know that of half the people that are making presentations here, the rest of the world, I mean, outside of this conference room, know for a fact that nobody goes looking for the answer to anything.
Right, so he did this video where he rolled these little balls across a magnet, and he, you know, implied there's a mystery that he's going to give us the big answer to it. He still hasn't done that. Yeah, still.
If we think we already know the answer to it, so many of the things that people are discovering or experimenting on is fantastic, and hopefully will change the world. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for being
This is crazy.
So incredibly kind and compassionate, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody have any comments or suggestions or for the audience or for anybody or anything you want to share? Probably, yeah, I'll turn the volume up. If anybody has any questions, feel free to come up to the microphone.
Bunch of almost dead people.
And now I'm, of course, repeating what my father has said many times now. So I hope that scratches the surface of it. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you.
It works in a different kind of way. I'll get weird for you a little bit. There are multiple sources who seem to have a reason to have an opinion, who say that this new human is likely to be able to see auras in general, which is no big deal. It's because some people already do. But the fact that it'd be a general capability or character.
See auras. So they really are just turning this is the mystical nut jobber, you know, see auras, halo readers.
All this time, and that's what gives you these capabilities that you didn't have. So everybody gets it, right? The question then is, how do you respond to it? And in general,
It's like a
Count out.
Oh, that would have been in the early 90s. So the situation is there was a conflict between the owner of the shipyard and the power company. And this guy owned one of the biggest Navy motor rewinding businesses in the area. And our ship came sailing in to have the bottom redone, and his crew ran to him and said, "Hey, Steinmetz is on this ship." And then we got together and he explained anomalous electrical bills and whatever. And so he understood everything about the reactive power and all that to some degree, or he had people that did. So I was just finishing my paper on the 4-quadrant, what did I call it? Symbolic representation of the alternating electric wave.
the alternating electric wave redundancy. Thank you.
this nice 600 amp double delta 6-phase line, 12 kV coming in, so there wouldn't be any problem with overcurrent with something like that. And then I ended up 2 days later with the owner of the shipyard and myself sitting in the Pacific Gas and Electric Company boardroom with the district vice president and the business manager and the chief engineer. And I was sitting on one side and the VP was sitting on the other side. And I presented my case, and the little persnickety engineer, you know, was, this isn't that. But anyway, he was arguing with Steinmetz. I've been working for 4 years on the theory and calculation of alternating current phenomena book, and I burned the guy's flesh off his body with the answer, and he just, and the management was taking delight in it. The VP got up and was standing over my shoulder looking at, you know, these graphs and equations, and I was a real idiot. I didn't realize that PG&E wanted to adopt me. And instead, I stayed loyal to the jackass that owned the shipyard who burned us and wrecked the hull on our ship. And I ended up, well, the story goes a little further, but it's not electrical. But I don't know if you want to hear it or not.
Yeah, no, I've heard it all before.
When I was doing the top 10 UFO riddles, I somehow ran across a quotation from Neil deGrasse Tyson, who said that, why do flying saucers spin? Because only stupid aliens build flying saucers. And I thought, wow, he's got all the answers. But there's another way to look at it. Oh, by the way, they don't know the laws of physics, he said. So it happened that, of course, he's being funny. You know, he has that kind of.
No, he's not. He's arrogant.
I can, well, we might not laugh, but we could, you can do this experiment on your own, and it is partial confirmation of the technology in use in flying saucers. It's very simple to do. The reason that that flying saucers spin on takeoff is that while they're in the power up cycle, they're trying to put the gravity effect through the entire craft, and there's the electrons are being made to precess by the magnetic field, and then from the center top of the saucer there is a pulse of microwave energy, and that causes the precessing electrons.
No evidence for any of that much shit at all. Blah 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 blah.
And the planetary alignments affect the solar activity, and it was basically discovered by scientists, Radio Corporation of America, that the planetary alignments were affecting the ionosphere through the activity on the sun, and via the sun, it's obvious that this is how astrology works, because RCA was practicing radio astrology.
Oh, astrology. RCA was into astrology. Sure they were.
That are pointing like maybe at 90 degrees. And then when the signal comes in, this is something that RCA developed called dual diversity, where all the receivers there were two receivers with coherent oscillators between them, and you had a pair of antennas, one standing before the other in their case. And if one antenna takes a fade, statistically, the other one is getting stronger.
Right, sure it is.
Formed during this planetary alignment, the results, the audience just was flabbergasted. The organists just jumped back from the organ keyboards in terror after the concert was over. And we would go to these concerts during this alignment sequence that occurred.
So we got anecdotal evidence of planetary alignment causing organ failure. Joke. Yeah.
Got a quick question for Eric. If the solar flux is in a downtime, is the MWO or any other method sufficient to replicate the type of something that, you know, be a mood elevator, or to replace that, the lack of, you know, the higher solar flux to?
That's conceivable, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't
kind of makes sense, but who knows? Yeah.
Yes, the magic stuff will magicalness.
Then how is it going to influence the environment and warping gravity or causing eddies? Or see, this is the flaw of the concept of energy. Energy is a flawed concept. I keep pointing this out. The human race really needs to go beyond energy. And this energy is always
What, Fenergy? Genergy? Menergy? Yeah. Beyond energy.
it's like the sewage element of the ether. And it's a bad news deal. And it's no matter what you do, it's still energy. You know, whether it's rabbit turds or coyote turds or cat turds, they're still turds and they're still going to stink and maggots.
Wonderful analogy. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that.
Experiments seem to indicate to the contrary on a lot of stuff. I found with my research that the natural frequency of the Earth was more around 18 kilocycles. But I never got the chance to put the antennas together to get down into that really low band.
All right, so whatever. This absolute mush. 18,000 cycles is natural for the Earth. So anyway, enough, no comments, and so I guess we're finished. Blah, 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 blah. But just horrible. Horrible, 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 horrible. And so we'll move on and do what we do till the next time and such.